Welcome back to part 3 of our discussion of nutrition facts. So for the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about sugar and added sugar. And today I want to switch over to briefly touch on fat. Now, back in like the 90s, fat was the enemy of people. And the nutrition fact label reflected this. And there used to be a thing called calories and then calories from fat, where the label actually told you how many calories that you were eating came directly from the fat. Well, anyway, years and years later, there's enough research to say that that doesn't matter anymore. Calories from fat is actually not a good distinction for the discussion of fat. And most of us are familiar with the concept of having different kinds of fat. There's saturated fat, unsaturated fat, trans fat, monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat. It turns out the discussion really needs to be a little more focused on saturated fat versus unsaturated fat. Each gram of fat is actually contributing the same number of calories to our diet, but certain fats are potentially more harmful to the body than others. Without getting too bogged down in the chemical chains of the fatty acids and what that means, saturated fat is going to be a solid at room temperature. So think about things like butter or coconut oil. Those are fats that at room temperature are a solid. And then we have the fats that at room temperature are a liquid. That's going to be olive oil, canola oil, mostly those kind of things like that, mostly oils. So saturated fat is kind of very similar to added sugar. It is a calorie source, meaning it brings energy into our bodies, but it doesn't necessarily bring too much nutrients into our bodies. So we need to keep an eye on it, because if we start bringing in too many calories, we are either, again, just like with the added sugar, we're either going to be blocking out nutrients that our body needs, or we're going to be adding in excess energy to our body. And excess energy in the body over a long period of time can start to cause complications. So saturated fat and added sugar, those are both really good areas to keep an eye on when you're buying food. For both saturated fat and added sugar, they are very clearly labeled on the nutrition fact label, so you can easily see how much you're getting in a serving. So again, much like added sugar, where about 10% of our daily calories should be coming from added sugar, same thing with the saturated fat. It's going to be about 10% of our daily calories, which is great news because it's not zero. So yes, you can have a slice of cake with buttercream on it, because the number of grams of saturated fat is not zero. It's just not as, it's about 20. Which gives us space in the diet for things like birthday cake and potato chips and animal crackers. But it is something that we need to keep an eye on, because, again, too much of the saturated fat or the added sugar is adding in too much energy without giving us the nutrition that we need. So for our young children, we're going to take it about 10% of their daily calorie intake. Whatever that is, kids differ in their size and their activity level and their own daily nutritional needs. So 10% is, again, it's a rule of thumb. The same things apply as in the added sugar. A one-day spike is not really something to get so upset about. It's more of a consistent overeating of the saturated fat and the added sugar, because we want ourselves and our kids to be reaching our nutritional needs, so we get everything our bodies need to be healthy and strong, but also maintaining our energy levels. And basically that is what the nutrition facts are all about. They're about teaching ourselves and our kids to eat in a way that our bodies are getting everything they need and that we're not taking in too much of anything. So hopefully that is a good explanation/summary of why saturated fat is a thing to keep your eye on when you're making food purchases. And I will be back next week to go more into our discussion and start looking a little bit at some of the vitamins and minerals that we need to have every day. See you then.